Hey there, this is Christine Landl, and I am with my sister, my best friend, my business partner, Jennifer Ream, and we are so excited to be here on yet again another platform that we are creating and another chapter, another piece to our journey.
The Well Podcast. This is Jennifer Ream. So excited to be here with you guys. Our intention for this podcast is all about sharing our love for all things wellness, holistic wellness that is. And we are here to uplift, plant some seeds, and support you on your wellness journey. We've always loved being able to be out there with our community, sharing all the things that we learn. And as we grow and learn new things, we love to put them out there, and maybe they'll plant some seeds for you and help you along your journey. So here we are. Let's get started.
Hey there, welcome back. We're in a whole new room and setup and location today, coming at you still on our podcast, but at Well. And it's kind of fun. We're digging this new setup, and we needed to do a little bit of work today and do some videos. And so we thought, hey, let's give it a try. So that's our little disclaimer, because you might hear some clinging of the dishes in the sink. You might hear a phone ring. You might hear customers talking
hear a DoorDash ding.
Yeah. So it's just all raw and is what it is. And
we're testing it out because it would be nice to do it here if we could figure out a way to do it permanently and have it all set up. So
it has a vibe.
We'll see.
Has a good vibe.
We'll see.
So we have a really fun, interesting, passionate topic that we wanted to talk about today, because what we have found through the years is that Jen and I both went through some difficult and challenging times when we were in our early 20s. And not
late teens.
Yeah, late 20s. Teens. Not to say that there haven't been other challenging times in our life, but now that we're 44 and 46, we kind of sit back and look at it and we're like, gosh, 46? Yeah. We kind of look back at it and we're like, that was such a pivotal time in our life that felt, of course had fun times, but it felt heavy, and it felt, for me, very lost, confused.
Stressful.
Very
super
stressful. A lot of pressure. And not a lot of direction or mentorship guidance from coming really from anywhere. So I feel like that's why it can tend to feel heavy and lost. And so we thought, we've always been very passionate about guiding that age group along, just for those reasons alone, wishing we would have known, obviously, what we know now, which is also a part of the journey. We realize that it is a part of our journey to have these experiences and to learn from them and to grow from them. And we don't learn and grow as much when we aren't experiencing them. And so we have to. It's part of it. It's part of an experiment. And so we come here as souls to learn and to grow. So as long as we're here on earth, that's what our purpose is, to learn, to grow, and to share love and to feel love. And so, but with that said, there's so much more we can do for the youth and for our young adults to help them find their way, so that we're not
supporting them.
And
I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by the loud banging noises.
Uh-oh, here we go. We're also getting ready to juice today. So
oh my gosh, that's so funny.
They might not even hear it on the camera.
I'm not used to that,
microphone.
hearing all the. I think it's the refrigerator. It's what I'm hearing now. Anyway, I was just thinking to myself, I just think in general, giving support tips to that age group is where I wish somebody had said a few key things, because looking back, was so I would say spiritually hungry. I didn't really jive with what we were experiencing from that perspective, because we went to public school and private school. We had both the experiences. That never felt aligned as far as what we were being taught. And so in the sense that it was very mixed, it was confusing.
It was confusing. And because we went to a private Catholic school and weren't Catholic, we were for me at least, I felt very excluded.
Yes.
So I was part of a supposed loving community, but I never felt included.
Yes, agreed.
And I think that there was that piece because you were
Right.
always longing to feel love no matter what. And so there was a piece of us that were trying to prove something and find something.
It's such an important age to feel included, and you're already so like feel raw and like you just, where do I fit in? You're trying to figure that out.
What's wrong with me and how I am the way I am.
You're trying to figure out who you are for sure. And you always will. That's one little note. You'll always be figuring that out.
Well, 'cause you change.
You get more empowered in what you've learned and experienced and confident in all of that. So, but it is definitely, I think back on that, and there's just some key things that I would love to share with myself then that I think would have been so helpful, and like just little nuggets of tidbits that for self-reflection. Mm-hmm. And I think the first one for me would definitely, as I was thinking about it in getting ready to talk about this, was I just think it's so important to teach. And I wish this was taught in the schools, and this is something that we have to evolve as a humanity to do. But we need to teach everybody the difference between your ego voice and your inner voice. Because if you learned how to connect with your inner voice, which you did as a child, like that imaginary friend and that like free loving spirit that you had, that was your inner voice just living authentically through you. And then as you experienced grade school and you experienced environments that put restrictions on you, that slowly that inner voice gets silenced and your ego takes over and becomes more loud and louder and more in control, when it's actually there for a reason. But when we learn how to like get quiet and still hear the inner voice, then you just feel more at peace within yourself, and you feel more guidance of what direction to take your life. So I think that would be like one of the things that I would love to share is like understanding more about yourself and the difference between that small whisper that you hear that's really always loving and kind. Your inner voice would never be judging you, would never say anything negative. That's your mind. That's your ego. That's not your inner voice. It's not who you really are.
Yeah. And I think that it's important to understand the backstory and the why behind school systems and all of that too, and why we're and even our parents. So parents who take a true authoritative my way or the highway type of parenting, and I feel like the school is that way too. So that's part of how they take a piece of our spirit away, because there's one right answer. There's no cheating, which means there's no sharing of information, which is how we learn from each other. And there's just it's this one way and no other way mentality. Yeah. And so we're not taught to listen to our inner voice. We're really only taught to,
not taught to be intuitive.
Right.
Which when you're taught to be intuitive and go within you, there's days where you intuitively, it's not for your highest good to be sitting at a desk for 8 hours. It's not. It's for your highest good.
Not sure
to
that
be,
any day is the highest good even doing that.
I know, but like there's just so like for us to treat our children and humanity in a way that is so narrow-minded in one way is where major change has to happen. Yeah. But as you come out of the system, so here you are in your late teens or early 20s, if you're listening, and you can take your power back and learn that the power of all of that is within you. So, and you can start fresh with reteaching yourself and reconnecting to that inner voice. And that is simply like by learning to listen. So you have to take the time to put the phone away. You have to take the time to journal, to just sit with like your headphones on in a meditation with guided music, something that allows you to just be like still, so that you can hear it. And then you just practice that more and more. And you will start to hear your inner voice come through, which comes through usually like your chest, your heart-centered area. It doesn't come from the mind. And another good tip when you're learning to listen is if you ask yourself, like, inner voice, what do I need to know today? Let's say you start your morning that way. You can ask that and take a big, deep exhale And as you exhale, your mind will stop the chatter and you can hear the inner voice. So that's just a one way. And sometimes you have to exhale 10 times, 20 times to listen, to really hear it, but it will come. And then sometimes your inner voice will just speak to you out of the blue and you'll just hear a whisper, or you'll have a God wink, as we say, which is synchronicity. It's like
coincidence.
This keeps showing up for me. This is not by accident. This is a God wink. This is like the little nuggets on my path. And your guides and your inner voice will guide you along in that way. And so that's one of the biggest things I wish that we could teach on just a broader scale.
Yeah. And I think my number one thing when I was reflecting on it too is exactly that, and piggybacking along with the soul versus the ego, what would be to go inward. I feel like at that time in your life and before that, you're really looking at the external world for validation and for your direction. And of course, that's screaming at us from all angles, especially with social media, especially with friendship pressures. We know that you all who are listening and in this age bracket have such pressure from the 24/7 on with that phone. This is a whole nother dimension that we didn't have to grow up with. And to be honest, it's something I sometimes long for my children, that I wish that they had that. But because you don't, and it is what it is, like Jen said, it's so important to put it away and to go inward. I wish somebody would have said to me, just sit and be and go inward and listen to that discerning voice within. To me, it's God. I'm listening to God. I'm listening to my soul, to my intuition. And I connect with God every single morning when I ask, what do I need to hear? How can I serve today? And how can, I need clarity on this. Can you please show me clarity? And oftentimes you have to ask, like Jen said, more than one time, many times, but it truly is within that stillness, within that quiet, that you will hear what you need to hear. But not only will you hear what you need to hear, you will feel peace and you will feel love, which brings calmness, which brings your nervous system down, which makes your body just all function properly. And it's so incredibly important. And we urge you to start small, start with 5 minutes, start with 10, and then work your way up to try to just do 20 minutes every single morning. And we know you have, a lot of people have demands in the morning. We can't stress enough how important it is to carve that time out in the day. That's your foundation. I just had this conversation with my husband at 47 years old. It is your foundation of your day, and it will go how you want it to go based on how you set your intentions. And so going inward is so, so incredibly important. And you can do that every hour of the day. It's free. It's your breath. It's connecting to the inward breath.
I was just going to say it's very much connected to your breath. So that is one way to practice it. And just know that you have access to any time, and you can practice it in the simplest of ways. And sometimes if I feel disconnected, I'll practice it in the sense of, okay, inner voice, what should I eat for lunch? As simple as that, because your inner voice will tell you what is best for you, to what's going to serve your voice and serve your body in the best way. And sometimes it's surprising, like what you think would be best for you, your inner voice will guide you, and you have to trust your inner voice because it always knows what's best for you, even if your mind wants to go, I don't think so. If you trust your inner voice, you will be guided on the right path no matter what.
And it's a muscle that you have to work, just like you would if you were at the gym lifting weights. The more you do it, sometimes the heavier the weights, the stronger you'll get. And that is just as important. And the same philosophy goes for meditation and your mind work. You have to work the muscle, and it just gets easier as you do it. And the trust, I remember the one year of that, my word for the year was trust. And it was truly just working on trusting my inner voice and trusting God's direction for my life. And I think that relationship alone also allows you to never feel alone. And that part is I feel like an important part too of that time in your life, because it tends to feel lonely from the aspect of not that you don't have necessarily friends and people around, but just from people understanding where you're at in life and what you might be feeling, which oftentimes is lost and confused, and pressure of having to be somewhere that you don't know where yet.
Yeah. And that's I think the next key point is that just give yourself a little bit of a break, and you don't have to have everything figured out right now. You're not going to. And you're going to be, even when you're at my age, I can sit and go, okay, well, I don't know what's next for me. Like who knows? But the biggest thing that I've learned is if I stay in the flow with life and allow the universe to guide me, the things that I need will show up for me. Even if they are hard lessons, I know they are for my highest good. They are for me to grow and learn from. And that's how I see them. I don't see them as negative. So if we can lose that attachment to everything being like really negative and things are not working out for you, to everything is always working out for you. Trust the journey, trust the path. You don't have to have it figured out. All you have to do is focus on following your joy, following what lights you up. And if you don't know what you're passionate about, that's okay too. Like that's part of the journey. Your passions will change. What you find joy in is all that matters, and that leads you to the things that you become passionate about. So if you simply just say, what brings me joy today? And that could be like, I want to go to the gym and work out, and that brings me joy. Or I want to hang out with my friends, and that brings me joy. Just following those little nuggets of joy and trusting that they will guide you on the right path. Even if you can't see it, you are being guided.
Yeah, and I think that's a great segue into decision making, and how I think that's a tough piece to at that age when you don't know, is how do you make decisions then? How do you move forward? I have to make these decisions on my major. I'm not going to go to college. So what do I do next? And it's a lot of decision making at that age. And so I feel like that is a really important aspect of going inward again and asking for some clarity. Oftentimes you feel 50-50 either way. And we always say, don't make a decision in that aspect. So if you're not feeling 100% clarity on a situation, try not to make that decision until you do. And so continuously ask. And it might be you have to ask for 3 days in a row. Maybe you're asking for a sign, a really clear sign.
I just want to emphasize that the asking part. What Christine's saying right now is so important. You can't just expect your, the universe to just not tell you. You have free will. And so that puts you in an environment that you do have to ask. So
yeah. And I think that it's also important to know that we're here to experience. So God and however you want
whatever
to,
word you want to use,
whatever you want to use, and your intuition and your soul, it's all about the experience too. So you might be given nuggets and you might be giving nudges and breadcrumbs, or however you want to look at that, but it's still, because of your free will, it's still up to you to make that decision based on what's in alignment and what's in your heart. So really tap into your heart, get out of your head, go into your heart and ask, what is the best for me and my highest good? And sometimes it's just as simple as, how can I serve for the highest good that will not only serve my soul, but it'll also serve humanity.
And whatever is serving your highest good is serving the best of everybody around you, regardless of what you're being fed with, things coming at you with, you have to do this, or you have to do that, or, you have to go down this path. Even though some people won't understand, when you're leading from your heart and you are being guided intuitively, it will be for the best for everybody, whether or not they can see it or not. And that ultimately doesn't matter. What matters is you hear it, you trust it, and you follow that path. You will never be misguided. And let's say you go down a path and you just are like, ooh, this is kind of I'm not feeling this. This is all right. Then you course correct. That happens all the time with us. Like there's been times, and trust me, been times in our life where I'm like, okay, we've tried that. That didn't work out so well. I'm going, okay, let's try a different way. Let's try something different. And usually in those times, it's because I was not super in tune with my inner voice, and I didn't know how to really listen and ask for clarity and ask for guidance and just trust it. And so the more you do that, the more you learn. The more you fall down and stumble, the easier it is to get back up and try it again and not judge yourself for it. You just love yourself through it.
I think that part is really important to really discern and understand, that it's following that inner voice so that you're swimming downstream instead of upstream. And you can tell the difference by how things are flowing in your life. If you're constantly running into the wall and hitting your head, over and over and over again, you're probably not learning what you're supposed to learn. And what we've watched over the years and what happens is when you aren't in tune, when you're not going within, and when you're not truly doing the work, you don't realize that all of these things are being given to you as a gift to learn from and to basically course correct you and get you back on the right path. And so if you're not in tune and living in the present moment and having awareness around these gifts that are being given to you, because yes, they are all gifts, then you will constantly be feeling like you're swimming upstream and nothing is going right for you. So there's a couple things with that. And again, it's really just looking at it and saying, okay, why is this happening for me? And how can I do it differently next time? What am I supposed to learn? And again, these are all questions that you don't have to look to your best friend for. Maybe you're discussing it, but you're really looking at your own intuition and soul and God and asking those questions and getting quiet and writing them out in a journal and just letting it flow and letting the answers come to you. And that will give you so much clarity, and you'll also learn from it. These are all learning opportunities. And so that piece, what we've seen happen many times is that people don't grasp what they're supposed to learn. And so you will continuously be walking into a wall and feeling like you're swimming upstream. And
when life is flowing for you, you feel the flow of it. You know, you just
ease.
it just becomes a little bit like the answers just show up, or the person calls you that you needed to know about something and they had the answer. Like there's just things flow a little bit for you. And the more you pay attention to that, sometimes we're just not even paying attention to that because it is happening for you every single day, but we don't have the awareness. And that's the one thing we have to practice, is that awareness of that in our experience, and that we are the creators of our experience. Like you can create your experience. This is your opportunity to stand in your power and create whatever you want to create. And that is the power of what we have when we tap into that part of ourselves.
I think too, when you leave home at whatever age, around 18 or maybe a few years later, you're all of a sudden in your own control. And I think after being controlled for 18 years, sometimes longer, we tend to just step into this world of unknown. And now I'm in control, and now I want to control everything. And I think that piece is really important too, that you really do still have to keep your heart open to what your opportunities that might come to you. Because if we go out into the world and we have it all planned out, our next 4 years are planned out, our career is planned out, how many kids are planned out, my husband's planned out, this is what he looks like, this is what we're going to do, this is where we're going to live. I can tell you right now, you're going to get knocked on your butt, because it's not how it happens when you're flowing and when you're going with opening doors that might not have opened if your heart was closed. And so you really do have to go into life when you step outside of your home that you grew up in with an open heart and with the willingness to not set limitations on what that can look like. So just again, when you go inward, just say that I am open to new opportunities that will serve my highest good. And I am keeping my heart open for the right people to step into my life and to walk into my life and to give me new opportunities. And I may not know what that looks like, but I can tell you right now, this is what makes me feel good. And this is what uplifts me. And then you can list those things. These are the feelings that I want to feel. I want to feel joy. I want to feel peace in my heart. I want to feel brave. I want to feel courageous. And then then you're just opening it up for the universe to match you at that vibration. But if you are not open and you are trying to control all of those things and how you get there, you won't see any of those things. Mm-hmm. So remaining open-hearted, I feel like, is such a big piece of this when you are trying to create the next piece of your life. Yeah.
And then I would lastly just want to emphasize the journaling part, because I think you can really practice inner voicing with writing, and get really good at it in that way. Because what happens is, if you sit down to journal and you take a couple deep exhales, a couple deep breaths, and you just kind of settle in, and you kind of settle into like your chest area. So you're just using your breath to do that. Deep exhales. And then you just start off. I think the simplest way to start off is just to say, inner voice, what do I need to know today? And then you just listen. And then you just let yourself write. And you write, if it's one word, if it's a sentence, and you just let it flow naturally. And one way you will know is, like I said before, if you are in the inner voice and you are in that your soul self, it is always extremely loving, extremely there's a lot of key words that you'll get to know from your inner voice that it uses a lot. It'll use a lot of similar things. And every inner voice is different. You are a unique soul. So yours might be a little different, but it's always loving, super kind. And if you notice that you start to get heady or it tends to say it talks to you like you need this, or, that kind of thing. If you tend to get a little bit where you're kind of off on where you might be a little negative or judgy or something like that, know that you're now back into the mind, you're back into the monkey brain, and your ego has taken over. And so you want to take some deep breaths, just settle in again and just say inner voice, and then you go from there. So that's just such a great way to tap in and allow yourself to free write. Free writing in that space is a form of meditation, and it's so grounding and relaxing and calming to your nervous system. So if you're stressed out, that's why a lot of people suggest journaling, because it's such a powerful way of calming your nervous system down and grounding you back into your true self. So I just want to stress the journaling part.
So I think the inward piece and the connecting with your soul is number one. Yeah. It truly is number one, because it is the guidepost for your entire life. But another topic that I wanted to talk about, I think is important to us, because we both had a lot of issues with our health during that time too. Especially me, I would say, digestively was a really troubling time for me. And that's where it shifted from late teens to early 20s, from being able to have whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, to all of a sudden, no, you actually, this isn't working for you any longer, for your body. And so talking about the body a little bit and nutrition, and there's a couple subjects that have to go along with that. But again, being in tune with yourself and really knowing your body and making decisions for yourself that are for your highest good when it comes to the food you eat and the drinks that you choose to put in your body. There's so much to, one, the mindset around what we're eating and what we're choosing to eat and what we're putting in our body, and two, from a digestive standpoint, how you feel when you're eating too. A lot of people have a lot of digestive issues. And if you're not in a good place when you're sitting down to eat, or if you are in fight or flight and you're eating, you're not going to digest things well. So it's really important to just connect those dots with what you're putting in your body. How nutritious is it? How close to being made from God, from the earth is it? The closer, obviously, the more that your body will benefit to that. So I think those pieces are really, really important, to connect those dots with how you're feeling and what you're putting in your body. There's a lot of studies, there's a lot of research now that food coloring, sugar, artificial flavors, your Starbucks, most likely all loaded up with everything on it, is all contributing to a lot of anxiety and depression as well. So keep those things in mind, that when our bodies are giving us messages, that's truly just what they are. They're messages of, it's trying to work really hard to heal itself from whatever might be coming into contact with. So connect those dots between how your body is physically feeling and what you're putting in it, along with your stress and your mental health, which is what we just talked about prior to this.
It all ties in together.
Mm-hmm. And
but
so
just choosing earth foods, like Christine said, when you have a choice, choosing earth foods as much as you can. The processed foods will wreak havoc on your entire body, mentally, physically, all of the above. And we know from experience what it does.
Yeah. And
what
so
it did to us.
Learn from your ancestors, learn from your 40-some-year-old elders that you can reverse all of that, and you really can feel empowered by nutrition and food, and learn to cook with your girlfriends, cook with your guy friends. If you're a guy, cook for your girlfriend. If you're a girl, cook for your girlfriends, whatever, boyfriend. And it's just, that part is, it's bonding. We need to get back to that. We need to sit down and enjoy our food, and
we need to know where our food comes from.
Yeah.
Connect the dots about your food doesn't just come from, the drive-through,
fast food. Yeah.
Or, where it comes from, and even how it gets to the grocery store, and that a lot of the grocery store food is not healthy. So, I mean, the packaged foods in the middle are not your best friend. Those are not your first choices when it comes to like healing your body and choosing things that are more beneficial and nourishing and give you energy, like that, like just simply that, giving you more energy and helping you sleep better. All those things are all tied into your nutrition.
And emotional eating is a big piece too. When you're feeling maybe heavy or stressful or sad, something happened to you at this, a lot of times relationships issues during this age too. So just really connecting the dots with how hungry am I? Am I truly really hungry? Am I feeling like my appetite is needing some nourishment right now? And to really connect those dots. Or are you going for food as a source of comfort? And so knowing the difference between those two things, and again, going inward, if you are feeling that you're going to it for comfort or you're going to it for a stress reduction, going inward and tapping into that and being thankful for the awareness that you had, that you picked up on that message that your body was giving you. So that piece is super important, to connect those dots and to just really, really think about what I'm putting in my body and how is it serving me. So
yeah, I was just going to say, like, if you have any questions or anything's coming up, please let us know. We would love to actually do more on this topic and more, conversations and maybe workshop style events with more people. We actually are doing one coming up at Grand Blanc High School, but it would be fun to do more workshop style around questions that we know you're interested in knowing more about. So if there's things that are coming up for you as you're listening to this, or you would love more, advice or just more conversation around it, please let us know, because we would love to chat with you and, add more topics to the podcast that are more narrowed in and focused on this, and what's helpful to you.
Yeah,
so,
I could go on and on. I have lots of things still in my head that I could talk about. There's a lot
that we could share. So I think that we break it down to even more like specifics, So anyway, you can reach us at drinkjuice@vibewell.com if you want to email us. And of course you can reach us you can DM us on Instagram, vibewell_lifestyle. Those are the best ways to really reach us. So
yes, we hope that you found even just one little piece of nugget that you can implement. And again, that is where we always say, start with one thing to change and go from there until it becomes a part of your routine. And we're just so grateful that you joined us.
And share it if you think there's somebody around you that might be helpful.
Yes, especially if you're a mom listening to this, because we know that those teens and those young youth,
you can't tell
young
them.
adults, yeah,
it has to come from us.
Needs to come from somebody else for sure. All right, thanks.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks again, friends, for joining us today on our latest podcast episode. We love sharing this with you. So please share the love if you feel called to all your friends and family.
And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. You don't want to miss out on what we're going to talk about next. It's always so juicy.
And of course, you can find us on social, Instagram, Vibe Well Lifestyle, and Vibe Well on Facebook. Love y'all.
And if you're in town, make sure you stop by and see us at Vibe Well too.
Yeah, we would love to see your cute face.
See you soon.
Bye.